Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Let's Talk News. I'm your host, Leticia Remauro. And as always, your comments will drive our conversation tonight. And already I am having a problem with my internet. I'm sure that everybody is online right now talking about the James Comey indictment. I tried to get some live stuff up, but unfortunately, I was having glitches with my computer. Hi, how are you, Debbie Lebedo? Good to have you here. Thank you for joining me. So I do have video of MSNBC from this morning. They seem to be part of James Comey defense team, along with CNN, who I was just watching. And I've got to tell you all, if you want to see what the news media has become, head on over to CNN to watch their coverage of the Comey indictment. They are scrambling, looking for a way to defend James Comey, which shouldn't be surprising to anybody, right? Because they've been defending illegal migrants. They've been defending all of the people that have gone after MAGA. They have been defending all of the people who are unpatriotic. So, I was watching CNN and boy, oh boy, it's amazing what they're doing over there. Hello, Angela Ricca. How are you? I don't understand what's going on with my internet. I hope you all can see me. Yeah, I hope so. Anyway, so he got indicted. The indictment was, there were 3 counts brought. Two of them were for lying to Congress, and only one was passed, and the other one was obstructing Congress's investigation. So they're making a big to-do that all 3 indictments were not handed down. They're also making a to-do about the fact that the people who were in the courtroom was, the new attorney for Virginia and her aide, who were political appointments. So they're saying somehow or another that is an important situation. Dinner was wonderful. Oh, okay. Thanks, Mom. You're very welcome for dinner. Hi, Francine. Good to have you. I love you too. Hi, Lucille Chavon, ROG. Thanks for joining us. So at any rate, let's listen to MSNBC while I try and figure out what the heck is wrong with my internet. I hope I'm not glitching on all of you. Let's listen to what MSNBC had to say this morning.
Ken, have you heard anything else since this report dropped this afternoon, especially in terms of the timeline we're talking about or looking at here?
Well, Michael, our reporting has now been confirmed by the Wall Street Journal and the Washington Post, and there seems to be a consensus that that prosecutors intend to take this case before a grand jury in Virginia as early as Thursday, because, as you said, they are racing to meet a deadline. The statute of limitations on this charge would lapse on Tuesday, 5 years to the day after Mr. Comey gave that testimony to Congress. It's not clear to us what the basis of these charges are, because this has been a disagreement between McCabe and Comey about what happened here that's been aired in public for years, and there was an Inspector General report that looked closely at it, and what the Inspector General report decided was that Comey was telling the truth, that Comey did not authorize McCabe to disclose this information to the Wall Street Journal. But let's take a step back and understand what's actually going on here, because it's really extraordinary. You have a U.S. attorney appointed by Donald Trump, a Republican, but also a career prosecutor, who looked at this case and another case against the New York Attorney General for mortgage fraud and said, I don't think there's enough evidence to bring these cases. We're not going to indict these cases. And what happened to him? He was fired. Donald Trump forced him out of office. He resigned under pressure, essentially, although Trump said he was fired. And now, in his stead, Donald Trump has installed Lindsay Halligan, who is his former defense lawyer, who was a White House counsel, who's never prosecuted a case in her life. She's now running this major U.S. attorney's office in Virginia, and they're moving forward with these cases after Donald Trump said on social media to his attorney general, urged her to charge James Comey and Leticia James and Adam Smith. It's just, I mean, if you had told me that this is the scenario we'd be facing 8 months into the Trump administration, the day after Donald Trump was elected, I would not have believed you. I would have said, wait a second, that's going too far. I mean, this is a politicization of the Justice Department in a way that we could not have imagined, that has never existed in the history of this country. That Donald Trump's White House is calling the shots on who gets charged with crimes.
So that's the talking point. That's the talking point for them, that Donald Trump is calling the shot on who gets charged with crimes. And it's never happened in the history of America, ever. Well, maybe it hasn't happened out front and to your eyes, but to us, we've seen it happen, haven't we? I love this. The shell game is up, Comey. That's fantastic, Debbie. Fantastic. We all remember Comey came across shells arranged in the sand that said 8647. He thought that was funny, and so he posted it on social media, never knowing that 86 was a term for getting rid of. Yeah. Oh, please, the grand jury did their job. Let's see. They have some nerve after what they did to Trump. Well, that's the thing, right? So MSNBC and CNN, who are clearly on the Comey defense team, and they're looking for ways to get Comey out of this mess. Yeah, the shells, I know. Give salvos with this. They are all out of their minds. They are. Well, so all the news media is doing their job for their masters, right? Whoever that is, because they've been doing that job since 2015, since Trump came down that escalator. They are all now scrambling, trying to figure out what they're going to say to change the minds or impact the jury so that they don't deliver an indictment. But I want to remind you something. What was it that the man just said that, Trump tweeted that it was time to indict Comey, and so he's directing the DOJ. I want to remind you of something, and there's a reason that I have all of these clips together, because when we're done, I'm going to make a prediction if you don't already make it. There was somebody else who telegraphed what they were going to do once they got into office, and CNN and MSNBC applauded her. Let me remind you.
Has been particularly on comments made by the New York Attorney General Leticia James while she was running. Here are a few things she said then in 2018 about Trump.
I will never be afraid to challenge this illegitimate president. He should be charged with obstructing justice. I believe that the president of these United States can be indicted for criminal offenses.
I will be shining a bright light into every dark corner of his real estate dealings. And every dealing, demanding truthfulness at every turn.
Would those comments have any legal basis for a dismissal here?
I don't know about a dismissal. I'm very, very troubled by them. I think they're completely unethical. I think it's, I actually have spoken with a fellow who's written a book on prosecutorial misconduct, and he's assured me he's going to include a chapter next time on the kinds of statements that are appropriate ethically and inappropriate ethically in the course of an election campaign for elected officials, for judges and prosecutors. I think they're very troubling comments. The government is held to a different standard. And the public generally believes that when they say something that it's accurate. We can't have people targeting particular citizens when they're running for office, especially when there's been no investigation and certainly no finding yet at that time of any.
But she did target him. And then what did she do? Then she proceeded to bring charges against him on something that was never, ever used in New York State before, because it was trumped up charges. It was the valuation of his property when he got when he was taking loans from the bank. So there was no victim because the bank did their own background, did their own checks and did their own evaluations and lent him the money. And then he paid back the money. And the banks actually sat in court and said, we have no problem with this. This is done all the time in New York State. And we never had a problem with Donald Trump and doing business this way. But Tish James used this little known item on the books that had never been used in this way before. And she prosecuted him. And she won a historic amount of money for the state, which won't be paid because it was overturned in the long run. Let's see. Hold on. Hello, Gloria. Good to see you. Okay, we're glitchy. But first, they kicked him out of the lease at Woman Brink. That's right, they did. And I just want to bring your attention to the fact that at that time, 2018, she said that he was an illegitimate president. She was referring to the whole Russiagate situation, right? Because supposedly Russia interfered with the election. And where'd they get that information? Oh, the FBI, James Comey. And we later found out that that was untrue, didn't we? But so you're going to hear, I always like to listen to MSNBC and CNN to get the talking points, to hear what they're going to say. New York courts are corrupt. Yeah, they are indeed. And this is going to be the talking point. The talking point is never before has an FBI director ever been indicted. This is historic. And it was already admitted that he didn't lie. And so, well, I don't know how they could get the indictment, but you can indict a ham sandwich. The problem is, are they going to be able to get a jury to convict? And oh, by the way, the U.S. attorney is not capable of doing anything. And oh, by the way, all the lawyers don't agree with this. Okay, so that's their talking points. Ring around the rosy, pocket full of phonies, ashes, they all go down one by one. Yeah, indeed. Isn't it amazing that nobody expected this? I mean, we saw it. We saw it happening with our own eyes. I had to fill out a juror questionnaire. I wrote on the questionnaire they should put me on the Leticia James corruption trial. I love it. Oh, and speaking about Leticia James, thank you, Howard Zinn, for spelling Leticia James almost correct. Just an FYI, Trump tweeted out my name the other day, and Leticia, misspelling Leticia James. I was really upset by that. I just hate that I share a name with her, and it's such a unique name, so I hate it that the two of us have it, but she spells it wrong. And but Trump put my name in instead. No one is above the law, remember. Yeah, well, that's what they said, right? No one is above the law. But it seems like, they had their ducks lined up in a row. Same with Fannie Willis. Bye-bye. Yeah, that's true. So okay, so here's your talking points, right? They're handing them out, incompetent, incapable. This is, he is going after his political enemies. It's never been done before. As a matter of fact, I wish I had gotten the clip. I should have just taken the video, the audio. The video didn't come. One person on the panel in CNN actually said that this was different than Joe Biden, because Joe Biden didn't have his hands on anything. He let his prosecutors, he appointed a special prosecutor and let them rip, that he had nothing to do with what was going on with Trump. First of all, Joe Biden had nothing to do with anything because Joe Biden was asleep for 4 years. But it's also bullshit. It's bullshit because we know that was politically motivated. Bonded forever by your name. Yeah, right. I know that just breaks my heart. Draining the swamp. We voted for this. We did. Okay, so let's just think about. I want to talk about. We talked about corrupt New York courts. Sal talked about that, and I wanted to remind everybody about Judge Juan Merchan. Okay, who actually convicted Trump. He presided over the trial where Trump actually became a convicted felon. And then he did not dismiss anything. And as a matter of fact, the sentencing was put on pause, but it wasn't taken away. So we have to see after Trump comes out of office what happens. Let me say it. The Democrats made up the phrase "nobody's above the law," as it is they who interpret the law to their advantage. Yeah. So anyway, Merchan, just a little background about Merchan. He was a family court judge, and he was brought to Supreme Court to hear some criminal things. But the interesting thing is, these are the cases that Merchan oversaw. Oh, by the way, we were told that Merchan, it was a spin of the wheel that got Merchan the Trump case. But he had the People versus Trump in 2022, Trump Organization 2022, People versus Allen Weisselberg 2022 and 2024. Weisselberg was an accountant for Trump. Let me see, what else did he have? People versus Steve Bannon 2022. And what else did we have? So I asked AI if it was a coincidence that Judge Merchan presided over so many Trump-related cases. And AI tells me no, that court officials said that the reason that Merchan pulled all those cases was because they were related, not by the problem, but by the name. And later on, another official told us that it was a spin of the wheel. So, Sal, you were absolutely right. Politico actually reported that no, that's not the case, that it was a spin of the wheel, and that's how it worked. So it just so happened that Merchan gets 6 cases. Well, it's actually more than 6. There were like 10 in all because of sentencing and other things, cases of Trump or related to Trump. So we want to talk about how New York State politics isn't corrupt. You know, the justice system there is just hunky dory. Okay. All right, let's go to. I'm going to now play you a clip of a former New York State judge who had this to say about Juan Merchan.
As you may be aware, I served as a criminal court judge in and for both Kings County and Bronx County, New York City, from 2005 to 2014. I was involved in all phases of criminal litigation for approximately 30 years. I have sat in all 3 seats: prosecutor, defense counsel, and judge. I do not personally know Judge Juan Merchan, but I am intimately familiar with New York County Supreme and Criminal Court, having spent most of my career in those courtrooms. Based on my experience, I can tell you in no uncertain terms that former President Trump did not receive a fair trial. If I may be blunt, Donald Trump was railroaded, and Juan Merchan was the driver of that train. For the purpose of this statement, I would like to concentrate on the most glaring problems presented by Judge Merchan's conduct of this trial. I believe the following. 1, the indictment was legally insufficient, and Judge Merchan should have dismissed the indictment before trial. In my book, The Making of a Martyr, an analysis of the indictments of Donald Trump, I wrote that my review of the New York County indictment revealed that Donald Trump was accused of causing a false entry to be made in his business records for the purpose of concealing or committing another crime. What other crime? The indictment does not say. Simply put, how was former President Trump to prepare a defense if he is not informed of the other crime he intended to commit or conceal when he allegedly falsified his business records? Judge Merchan was obligated to dismiss an indictment that failed to identify the underlying crime. Number 2, the failure to dismiss the indictment led to charges being added during trial that were not included in the indictment. In doing so, former President Donald Trump was not given a fair chance to prepare a defense to these added charges, thus depriving him of his right to prepare a defense. This was a violation of Donald Trump's right to fundamental fairness and notice of the charges he faced prior to trial. Further, the jury instructions given by Judge Merchan were illegal in that they included these additional charges and allowed for a non-unanimous verdict. A non-unanimous verdict is unprecedented in any felony trial in American jurisprudence, and recently, the U.S. Supreme Court reiterated the necessity for a unanimous jury verdict in the case of Erlinger versus United States. Number three, Judge Juan Merchan made unconstitutional and prejudicial rulings that impacted Donald Trump's ability to present a defense, and that he allowed the prosecutor to use civil penalties and uncharged sexual assault charges against Donald Trump, where he had testified in his own defense. This deprived the former president of his right to present evidence in his own defense and was the very basis for the Court of Appeals' reversal of the conviction of Harvey Weinstein earlier this year. Number four, Judge Merchan should have recused himself from presiding over this matter based upon the appearance of impropriety in having contributed to political campaigns, regardless of the amount, and based upon his daughter's political activities, regardless of the ethics opinions he received, which absolved him of any actual unethical activity. There are, of course, other appellate issues which exist in this case, allowing the prosecution to claim federal election law violations without presenting any evidence to support those allegations, not allowing the defense to present a witness regarding federal election law after allowing the prosecution to make the aforementioned statements, and allowing Stormy Daniels to testify, knowing that the prejudicial effect of her testimony outweighed any probative value, are several.
Okay, so there you go. I mean, there's a judge talking about what Merchan did right and wrong, and actually he said nothing about what Merchan did right. And later on, just a reminder, it was found out that Merchan's daughter was working for the Biden campaign, raised $15 million, or was paid $15 million. I'm sorry. And the question is where'd that money go? Was the wealth shared? How can anybody believe that Merchan was not biased against Trump and that he gave him a fair trial after this information? I don't think anybody can. We are wise to it all. They're pandering to the 1%. You're right. And it's that 1% that's going out in the street and causing all kinds of conflict. The wheel was rigged just like the games on the boardwalk. You're absolutely right. Where can I get that clip? Okay, wait, hold on. I want to post it. Just tell me which clip. All of it is on the internet. I just Googled. I pray this is just the start. It's just the start, but they're losing and now they're getting desperate and people are dying. Think about that. That's a problem. Why did my computer do this? Okay, we're having all kinds of issues today. Let's see. Merchan should be charged and arrested for false charges against Trump. But look at what's happening right now with the fact that they're going after Comey. And just let me remind everybody why Comey was fired in the first place. Okay. I know I'm offering a lot of clips, but I'm connecting the dots. Take a look.
The president removing the head of an agency who's currently leading a criminal investigation into possible collusion between Russia and associates of the man who sacked him. The White House maintains Comey made many mistakes in his investigation into Hillary Clinton's emails, and that's why he's being dismissed. But in his letter to Comey, Trump himself raises the Russia inquiry. While I greatly appreciate you informing me on 3 separate occasions that I'm not under investigation, I nevertheless concur with the Department of Justice that you're not able to effectively lead the Bureau. You are hereby terminated and removed from office effective immediately. The letter firing Director Comey was hand-delivered here to FBI headquarters by one of the president's closest associates, Keith Schiller, who was, until the election, Trump's personal bodyguard. But Comey wasn't here to receive it. He was on official business in Los Angeles and only discovered he'd been sacked while he was watching television. Comey had been due to make a speech. Instead, his motorcade headed straight to the airport. There he greeted FBI officials before the now former director, who was due to serve for another 6.5 years, boarded his plane to return to.
Okay, so remember, Comey kept telling Trump he wasn't under investigation, but Comey was the one who was investigating Russiagate, okay? Now, Deb, I'll get you the judge's name in just a second. And let's remind people what happened because of the Russiagate situation. There were, let me see, hold on, 34 individuals and 3 companies were brought up in charges. And let's see, several Trump aides wound up going to jail. Paul Manafort, Michael Flynn, Michael Cohen, Roger Stone, George Papadopoulos. And they went to jail not for anything to do with any of this. They were like trumped up charges, tax evasion, obstruction of justice. Let's see, Flynn was found guilty or pleaded guilty to lying about the FBI contacts with the Russian ambassador. Michael Cohen should have been in jail because he was a piece of shit. And he undermined Trump at every direction. He was nothing but a scam artist, still is. All except for Cohen were actually pardoned by Trump. So this false Russia collusion situation that was perpetuated by everybody, including this bastard.
Congressman Schiff, some of the investigations or lack thereof were just laid out by Kellyanne Conway from the White House. I want to give you a chance to respond to criticism that she has leveled in terms of congressional investigations.
Well, look, I think it was a broad effort to distract from the president's comments. And as you pointed out, Margaret, the president can't distinguish between any allegations of conspiracy against his campaign and the broader problem of Russia continuing to interfere in our elections. Dan Coats said this week that Russian efforts are pervasive in terms of their social media campaign to divide us. That's going to continue to the election. We see that the Russians are again trying to spearfish and potentially hack election campaigns. The only element we have not seen to date, as Director Wray said, is the hacking of voter registration databases or voter equipment. But as our intelligence chief said, that's just one keystroke away.
This morning is preparing for a fight with congressional Democrats over special counsel Robert Mueller's final report on Russian interference in the 2016 election. It is front page news across the country, as one would imagine. Now, a summary released by Attorney General William Barr says Mueller found no collusion between President Trump or his campaign in Russia. Democrats want to know why Mueller did not say whether the president believes the president obstructed justice. Barr's letter says there's enough evidence to prove that.
That there's not enough
evidence to prove that.
I knew what you meant. The Russian investigation lasted 22 months, producing more than 2,800 subpoenas and about 500 witness interviews. It cost more than $25 million and led to criminal charges for a number of people connected to Mr. Trump, plus 25 Russians and 3 Russian companies.
Okay. $25 million. So what they were doing was undermining a president, the president that was duly elected by the people of America. Debbie says Mike Flynn took the fall to protect his family. That is true. I spoke to him personally about that. They better get ICE to New York City before November election, or these assholes will put Mamdani in. I think that, unfortunately, I can't see how Mamdani is not going to get in. If you don't, guys, don't get one single candidate, because we're still at it. Mamdani's at 47, and if you put Adams and Cuomo and Sliwa all together, there's 47%. You guys got to unify behind one candidate. So far, Cuomo has got 22%. I don't see, though, how he gets all the votes. I can see Curtis getting them, but not him. But he's the leader right now. So, if people stay home, then Mamdani, the people committed to Mamdani right now are coming out. Okay, if they're saying Mamdani, then that's who they're voting for. After that, if you put in the wrong guy, if you coalesce behind the wrong guy, I just don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't see how Mamdani doesn't win. Can't stand him. He always looks like he smoked crack pipe. Yeah, he probably did. Shift the next idiot. Hopefully he gets indicted. Yeah, but I hope he does. They're still undermining Trump, and that's their total agenda with no policy. That's correct. So I'm going to show you, I'm going to just remind you of this.
I'm Christine Frizzell, where we are learning shocking new details about the role the nation's top law enforcement agency played in covering up the Hunter Biden laptop story, just weeks before the 2020 presidential election. The latest information reveals an inside look at conversations deep within the walls of the FBI.
Mr. Biden. It was for a time referred to as the laptop from hell. The device Joe Biden's son Hunter left at a repair shop and forgot about. The store's owner later giving it to the FBI.
You know who knew the laptop was real? Was the FBI.
The New York Post first reported on some of the laptop's contents, including his business deals with the Ukrainian energy company Burisma, in an October 2020 story that was for a time suppressed on Facebook and blocked on Twitter. Both companies later revealing they were told by government officials it was likely Russian disinformation.
They're just trying to make people think that there's some relationship to the Russians, when, of course, the FBI, better than anybody, knew that there wasn't.
Journalist Michael Schellenberger, along with Catherine Herridge, just shared a new batch of internal FBI messages suggesting an FBI employee was given a gag order by the Office of General Counsel, or OGC, and later told to backtrack. Another, that the FBI's Criminal Division, or CD, confirmed there was an active investigation into the laptop, asking, is it corruption, campaign finance? Later, oh crap, okay, it ends here.
It just underscores how many people knew that the laptop was authentic, that it showed potential crimes. Instead, they perpetuated the idea that it was part of Russian disinformation.
That notion bolstered by this statement, signed by 51 former intelligence officials, which said those emails purportedly belonging to Vice President Biden's son Hunter had, quote, all the classic earmarks of a Russian information operation.
51 FBI officials signed that letter. Curtis is not going to win. No one under 40 years old knows who Curtis is. Remember, Adams won last time with less than 800K votes. Well, it's going to be less than that even now, Kim. That's the problem. If the number of votes goes up, those are Mamdani votes. Sharia law coming to New York City. Mamdani gets in. I agree. I don't trust the polls. Look how they said Trump and Harris were neck and neck. Having said that, Adams should drop out, and we all need to get behind Sliwa. On this one, if Mamdani is not 47%, then the one in the lead is going to be Cuomo by a lot more than Sliwa. It's just simple name recognition. The problem is that the people who lost loved ones in the nursing homes are not going to vote for Cuomo. They're just not. So, all your guess is as good as mine about what would happen if Cuomo becomes the guy. But for all intents and purposes, everybody, look, I've been inside politics long enough, and, no doubt in my mind, I was the better candidate for borough president, but I understood and I didn't press anybody to support me, elected officials to throw their weight behind me, because Vito had the obvious name recognition, right? And Matteo did not. So, you've got to play politics with what it is. And, Cuomo has the name recognition. He was already a governor. They loved his father, a lot of people. And after comparing Cuomo to Hochul, they're going to say, well, the state was much better off under Cuomo. And that's true. So they're going to try and give him a shot. And the other thing is that I worry that Curtis can't pull the Democrat vote over. That's the biggest problem in New York. If they care about New York City, the two of them will have to drop out. Here's my prediction here, is that Curtis stays in, Adams will go to Trump, and it's going to be Curtis and it's going to be Cuomo, and Curtis is going to get blamed for Mamdani becoming the mayor, and Curtis is going to have nowhere to go. He's going to wind up without a radio show, and his heart is going to be broken because that man is all about New York, and they are going to lay the blame on him. Cuomo will always have his Cuomo money and his Cuomo family and his, royal name, and Curtis will not. And, if I were in Curtis's shoes, I'd get out. I'd make a deal with Cuomo to work in his administration, and I'd get the hell out, so that I could be there and helping in New York City. And that would be my advice to him as a friend. I'm voting for Curtis, but he's not going to win. And I'm selling my house. I'm moving to South Carolina. Come on down. I will help you find a new home. Curtis won't drop out. Curtis got shot 5 times and went back to work. I get you. I just hate that, they're going to blame it on him. I want to be so wrong. I want to be wrong in the worst way. I don't think I am. All right. So I told you I was showing you, we went way over once again, but I told you I was showing you all those videos for a reason. And here's my reason. I believe that Obama and Comey have been behind this whole undermining of Trump the whole time. I believe that they worked with Tish James. They worked with the socialists, and they continue to work with the socialists. I believe that Comey has been the I don't want to say fall guy because that's the wrong terminology, but he carried out the wishes of the Obama administration and the global elite. And they're going to come back with plenty of cash to help him out. I mean, listen, here's the thing about Comey is that he was the FBI director, so he's got a lot of information on a lot of people. And we all know that Obama was collecting information through the FBI on plenty of people in America. And we also know that his father is no fan of America. So that is what I believe is happening. And I believe that why we're seeing an uptick in violence is because now that they're desperate. They're desperate because they see that Trump is not going to stop. They see that people don't trust the FBI. People don't trust, or the previous FBI. They don't trust the justice system, They don't trust the news media. So now what can they do? Because 2026 is coming along and they're going to try and frighten the right and people into not supporting Trump. The way they did it the last time didn't work, clearly. And the way they play games with the election and the presidency didn't work the last time. We're all a lot smarter now. And because the mainstream news media, even though they're carrying their water, does not have the reach that it used to. And there's a lot more conservative voices on social media than there are liberal voices and socialist voices. The only thing that they have left to do is to have violence, and they are executing violence on anyone they can to try and scare the shit out of us. They're acting like they're still in power, but they're not. And now we really, more than ever, have to get behind Trump, and we have to all keep our cool. We have to protect our Second Amendment right always, and we have to keep our cool and not play this game with them, because they are desperate. And when people are desperate, they will do anything. And they are doing anything. Oh, well, thank you, Mother. Do you think Trump knows what you just said? I do. I think he does know that. I think that they've known this. They spent 4 years. He spent 4 years continuing in his mind to be president and to be a patriot and to watch out for what was going on with America. He and Kash Patel and Pete Hegseth, I don't think there were any surprises with who he brought on his team. I think that team was working together for a very long time. Kamala says her campaign was 107 days. That's bullshit. She was the vice president the whole time. Her campaign was the whole time. Trump was literally putting the pieces of this puzzle together, and having been sitting in the White House and seeing the duplicity and seeing the corruption and seeing all that he saw, because as you know, I hate freaking Washington, D.C. I think it's disgusting. And that's for the Republicans as well as the Democrats. They're owned by other people. It's not us. It's not the people that's running this country. I think after seeing January 6th and what they were willing to do, Trump was ready for anything. And I think he is ready for anything. I don't agree with him on a lot of things. Like, I think that putting the auto pen picture of Biden was just wrong. You know what? No matter what, he was indeed the president. Even if the election was wrong, the Congress still, voted to install him. So there has to be some level of respect for that. I think it was funny as hell, but I don't appreciate it. I don't like it. I don't like when we reduced the office like that. I didn't like what he said the other day. When he was on stage, with the Charlie Kirk thing about, that Erica forgave and that he couldn't forgive. He doesn't forgive. He hates his enemies. I don't like that. Today, thank goodness, he reminded people that he's the president for all people, but he also cautioned everybody, the left should stop playing games with violence, because, the right is always ready and more prepared for violence than they are. He hopes it never gets to that. And I agree. I hope so too. And I agree with him too. I think that we are, because we are protecting something that is so important to us, our family, our church, our country. We have a passion and love for the country. So they always said that, if you're you should never invade somebody on their home soil, because they will protect their soil with their soul. And usually that's correct, right? Look at Putin right now. He, you would think with all his stuff, he would have been able to get rid of Ukraine with no problem. And Ukraine is still holding up. So, anyway, I think we have more to protect because we love this country and we're patriots, where the other side is not. They've been trying to tear us asunder. And that is why we are doing what we're doing right now, to ensure that that can never happen. Curtis isn't running a smart campaign. The RNC should be buying tons of commercials for Curtis, and he should be relating to people on those commercials. Show videos of Curtis on the subways. It can't happen. Can't happen. RNC can't get involved in that race. There's a New York City race. There's a spending limit. The only thing that could happen was that if there were PACs that were put together. I said that early on, that they had to be plenty of PACs and they had to raise plenty of money. But Curtis can't raise the money because Curtis is broke. He's broke personally, and he doesn't have relationships with big business people. It's very difficult. There's a Sliwa rally at Paradise Island on Saturday, 12 noon. That's good to hear. Disrespect the position is not good. I agree. If Mamdani wins, will Trump be able to save New York City? No. You know what will happen? All the middle class, all of you will come and visit me and live with me in South Carolina. And what we're going to start to see is a separation between the red states and the blue states. No, Trump won't be able to save New York City, because it will be, New York City will bleed the federal government of money, because all the businesses will leave. So there will be nobody to pay for all these things that Mamdani is offering and promising people. There's, who's going to pay the rent? What's this millionaire tax? What millionaires are going to sit there and be taxed exorbitantly to pay for illegal migrants, to pay for, transition surgery? Who's going to do that? Nobody. So what's going to happen is the wealthy will leave. They'll probably just go to the Hamptons, like we saw them doing in COVID. The place will become a ghost town. The big luxury condos will all become, low-income housing. There will be nobody to pay for all these things, and New York City will just become a dust bowl. Then maybe once it becomes insolvent, Kathy Hochul or whoever's the governor, hopefully Elise Stefanik, hopefully Mamdani winning will actually get Elise Stefanik in as governor. And then when the city goes bankrupt, Stefanik can actually pull the charter, and then there's no more New York City. And then it's 5 counties. And then you'll have county government. So there's Staten Island secession right there. Bing, bam, boom. So everybody, I would right now, instead of chasing a pipe dream of trying to win the mayoralty of New York City, everybody ought to start giving to Elise Stefanik. And also you should start giving to Senate races, because you need to take back the Senate. You need to take back the Senate, because we need a 2-party system. Because Stefanik being governor with a totally blue Assembly and Senate is not good. She can't get anything done. New York City becomes even more of a dumpster fire. Absolutely, it does. New York City will no longer be funded by federal government. No, it'll be like, what's his name? Nixon's Nixon's vice president that took over when he resigned. Oh, why can't I think of his name? Oh, God, I didn't care for him anyway. He said, go to hell when they were asking for money. Besson said, when New York City comes to the federal government for a bailout, they're going to say, go to hell. There you go. All right. I'll sell out. I'll sell and move south. Most everybody will. So that's what I think is happening right now. I think that, they're getting violent because they're desperate. Oh, yes, that's right. No. Not Carter, the one before Carter. Who was the one before Carter? Who fell down Nixon's? Was it Nixon? Yeah. Okay, I can't remember. Anyway, I only have so much information, and since the brain aneurysm, I have a smaller brain. At any rate, I think that New York City people should start thinking about where they want to live. Because it's not going to be there. And I think that, you need to get Elise Stefanik elected. Right now you have as good a shot as any. And once New York City goes down the drain, you have more. So anyway, Ford, that's it. Thank you. I don't know why I couldn't think of that. All right. So 46 minutes for tonight's show. But as always, you guys are fantastic. I love talking with you. I could do this all night long. So we're off tomorrow and Saturday, and we come back on Sunday. But if anything interesting happens, I might pop on. So just, make sure you're following me on YouTube and on Facebook and see if I go live with anything, if I learn anything. In the meanwhile, thank you for being part of the show. Thank you for being driving this conversation. And I will see you Sunday at 8 p.m. Good night, everybody.